At first, I was kind of hesitant about sharing this, but then again, I thought about the antiquity of the document and how it could simply be lost, like the many beautiful books of the Alexandria Library. And I thought about all the people involved, all those that were working at the archaeology site. I was thinking about all those that have spent hours and years learning how to decipher these texts, the philologists, the linguists. And I said, you know what? I will share this with others. And if anything, also the curiosity of how a religion is born or how a religion is lost and what brings the people together and connecting the dots from when was the first idea of a God ruling over us? Not so much the idea of a creator, that's for a whole new video, and how these religions have come through. I've been finding that very fascinating. And just to understand also the importance that it is in our humanity to know ourselves. Recently, I heard a video where Carl Jung, a renowned psychologist and psychiatrist, was discussing a session that he had with one of his patients, in where the patient began describing a vivid scene of the sun along with cardinal points. Soon after this, Carl Jung reads of a similar vision being described as a ritual in a fragment of a Greek ancient text from the great magical papyrus of Paris that had just been discovered and translated by Albrecht Dietrich, who was a German classical philologist. A philologist is someone who studies the history of languages and origins, especially by looking closely at literature. The subject matter of the discovered text contains magical incantations with reference to Mithraic cosmography. There are many paths which we can take here, one being the discussion of clairvoyance, the ability to see the past or the future. In Jung's case, his patient was seeing the past, a past that had not been known but were it for the unearthing of the archaeological site. Documents dated to possibly the 4th century, providing insights of the rites of a cult or religion. The second path is, what was the purpose of the religious ritual, and what place did drugs have in these rituals? I've started a timeline to help me see how the various religions originated and how they morphed for personal interest. And I'd like to mention that I do have links in the description of this video so you can look at these sources. Since I'm not a scholar, I'm counting on the findings of these experts, so my perspective comes from a mundane and common sense approach. I am not making any religious nor political opinion, just looking at the findings and seeing where it takes us. If it intrigues you and inspires you on a quest, I'm delighted to hear what you discover. I see myself as a curious spirit in a body exploring how we've humans come to where we are today. Before we time travel to the incantation site and stand there like voyeurs hearing the words that have the power to draw the gods nearer, let's time travel to 4000 BC. There are earlier tablets we must inspect. The Sumerian tablets, which consist of 14 tablets, what I find interesting is it contains narratives of the creation of human beings. I understand that prior to 4000 BC, the preservation of history was oracular, and the Sumerian and cuneiform tablets stand as the first written accounts. It is said Sumerian is a language isolate, that is, no languages related to it have so far been convincingly identified. The Sumerians describe themselves as the Anunnaki, and don't take my word for this, I'm sharing my findings. Experts have translated the tablets. The Sumerian have a story of a deluge or great flood, wherein a hero builds an ark to preserve the species of the earth from a great deluge that is sent by the gods. This person is warned by the gods to build an ark and preserve the beasts of the wild. Now one can ask, did the Torah create their own version of the Sumerian flood story? We clearly can deduce by looking at a timeline which one came first. These are the records in the Sumerian tablets, and they were written 4,000 years before the oldest scripture, the Torah. The Torah was written 3,000 years or so into the future, around 450 BC, which can be the content for another video. Now that we have a timeline of what is often regarded as the earliest human civilization, having a bit of common sense, I understand that very few things exist outside of a vacuum, meaning that with time things can influence what is an established norm, and soon we get closer to Mithra. Let's take one more glance at the Sumerians before we jump into our time capsule. The Sumerians believed in anthropomorphic polytheism, or of many gods in human form, and these were assigned to rule over specific city-state. I imagine much like governors and mayors oversee what we now have as local cities and states. The core pantheon consisted of An, which was heaven, god of the heaven, Anthi, a healer and friend to humans, Enlil, the god of air, which gave many spells and spirits, Inanna, the god of love and war, Utu, the sun god, and Sin, the moon god. The evidence of cultic use of drugs, for example, opium, in the eastern Mediterranean islands and among the Sumerians dates as early as 3000 BC, which now helps set the stage to understand a bit more of the Mithras Liturgy. I deem it appropriate to start with a song to Mithras by the poet Rudyard Kipling. Mithras, god of the morning, our trumpets awaken the wall. Rome is above the nations, but thou art over all. The widespread popularity and appeal of Mithraism as the final and most refined form of pre-Christian paganism was noted for its many astonishing similarities to Christianity and discussed by the Greek historian Herodotus and Greek biographer Plutarch. It is said that for over 300 years the rulers of the Roman Empire worshipped the god Mithras. Known throughout Europe and Asia by the names Mithra, Mitra, Mithros, Mer, Mer, and Meyer, the veneration of this god began some 3,000 years ago in Persia, where it was soon embedded with Babylonian doctrines. Mithra is one of the most remote Indo-European divinities, member of the known pantheon in common between northern India and Iran. The first document found that mentions its name is from the 2nd millennium BC. It is a clay tablet from Bozoviti in present-day Turkey, which was the ancient capital of the Hittite Empire. In it, Mithra is invoked as guarantor of an agreement established between the Hittites and a neighboring people, the Mitannians. There is no absolute consensus among researchers about the origins of the Roman cult of Mithras, formerly referred to as the Mysteries of Mithras. Lack of documentary evidence offers no consensus, yet another theory is that the cult was imported with the troops that fought in Greece and Asia Minor during the Mithraic Wars of the 1st century BC. The faith spread east through India to China, reached west throughout the Roman frontier, from Scotland to the Sahara Desert, and from Spain to the Black Sea. Sites of Mithric worship have been found in Britain, Italy, Romania, Germany, Hungary, Bulgaria, Turkey, Persia, Armenia, Syria, Israel, and North Africa. In Rome, many Mithric temples still stand in many parts of the city, along with hundreds of inscriptions. The practice of mysteric cults had been known in Rome since the ancient times, thanks to the Hellenistic world. And by mysteric, I am learning that it would be any cult or religion involving sacrifice, sex, and drugs. Later, the Romans adopted the Phrygian goddess Cybele, as well as Bacchus Dionysus and Isis. The earliest record of Mithras in the Roman world is found in the late 1st century Thebaid of Statius, where the Latin poet writes, Mithras, who, beneath the rocks of the Persian antechamber, twists the horns of the reluctant bull. The importance of these documents, whether they be ancient papyrus, tablets, or poetry, is that they bring to life customs and rituals of an era gone by. The first archaeological evidence relating to Mithras dates from the same period, around 98 AD. It is a relief of the solar god killing the sacred bull consecrated by Alcimus, slave of T. Claudius Labienus, prefect of Trajan. The worship of Mithras was secret and mysterious. Its importance is marked as being the last of the mystery cults to evolve, and that it thrived in the 2nd and 3rd centuries AD and waned in the 4th as elite patronage was gradually transferred to Christianity. So the study of the cult holds the promise of shedding vital light on the cultural dynamics that led to the rise of Christianity. It seems that rituals are coded in the human being. Many religions, political governments, organizations, and families have some form of ritual to what they do, whether it's the opening of a meeting or some routine that takes place to set the tone for the occasion. It is said that rituals are specific step-by-step instructions done to prepare for action, while a habit is something done repeatedly for the purpose of performing the action itself. You may be able to bring to mind a habit that through time has now become a ritual, inasmuch that you have formed some attachment to the process, and therefore you have an expected outcome. Anyways, the time is upon us to invite you to behold the Mithras Liturgy ritual in progress. Brace yourself, you will be exposed to the mystery. There will be lightning, there will be drugs, concoctions of herbs and spices, anointing of this concoction possibly to be applied to the eyes, invoking of the gods. There might also be some necromancy. There will be burning off mortality of the flesh, a process needed to ascend into heaven and have cosmic vision. And all this seeking ionic life, a rebirth. As we listen to these magic incantations of an era gone by, let's keep in mind the time period, the declining Roman mythology, and Mithraism trying to find ground while Christianity is slowly on the rise. Could the existing religious rituals be remnants of the Sumerian rites? Did it influence the mythology of the Romans, the Torah, as well as Mithraism and Christianity? Let's pay close attention to the references of Greek gods, the fates, the 4 pillars, and any other nuances that may be similar to a religion that you might be a part of or that you know of. In this video, I have added the Greek text so you can pause on your own if you wish to translate it yourself. This is edited and translated by Marvin W. Meyer. Albrecht Dietrichs. in Mithras Liturgy. We are at the ritual site, and it appears that there is someone giving instructions to this process. Come over here. I think we can see it better from this angle. Be gracious to me, O Providence and Psyche, as I write these mysteries handed down not for gain, but for instruction. And for an only child I request immortality. O initiates of this our power, furthermore, it is necessary for you, O daughter, to take the juices of herbs and spices, which will to you at the end of my holy treatise, which the great god Helios-Mithras ordered to be revealed to me by his archangel, so that I alone may ascend into heaven as an inquirer and behold the universe. This is the invocation of the ceremony. First origin of my origin, Ayo-yo. First beginning of my beginning, Spirit of spirit, the first of the spirit in me. Fire given by God to my mixture of the mixture in me, the first of the fire in me. Eya, water of water, the first of the water in me. Oh, earthy substance, the first of the earthy substance in me. Yea, yoi, my complete body, I enter your name here. Whose mother is, say your mother's name here, which was formed by a noble arm and an incorruptible right hand in a world without light and yet radiant, without soul and yet alive with soul. Yea, oi. Now if it be your will, Materta, Foth, Metharta, Feri, in another place, Yerizath, give me over to immortal birth, and following that to my underlying nature, so that after the present need which is pressing me exceedingly, I may gaze upon the immortal beginning with the immortal spirit, Ancreferenensoi firig, with the immortal water, Eronoi parakoineth, with the most steadfast air, Eoae senaboth, that I may be born again in thought, Kraokrax ar oim enarkomai, and the sacred spirit may breathe in me, Nekthen apatoi nekthin arbieth, so that I may wonder at the sacred fire, Kaif, that I may gaze upon the unfathomable, awesome water of the dawn, Neo theso echo oi kiekoa, and the vivifying and encircling aether may hear me, Arnomenth. For today I am about to behold with immortal eyes, I, born mortal from mortal womb, but transformed by tremendous power and an incorruptible right hand, and with immortal spirit, the immortal Aeon and master of the fiery diadems, I sanctified through holy consecrations, while there subsists within me wholly for a short time, my human soul might, which I will again receive after the present bitter and relentless necessity which is pressing down upon me. I say your name here, whose mother is, say your mother's name here, according to the immutable decree of God. Eye, Yia, Ei, Ao, Ei, Iya, Yeo. Since it is impossible for me, born mortal, to rise with the golden brightnesses of the immortal brilliance. Oi, Aio, Ia, Eoi, Yai, Oyae. Stand, O perishable nature of mortals, and at once me safe and sound after the inexorable and pressing need. For I am the sun, Psychodemoi proco proa. I am Makarf, en moi prosaikon proe. Draw in breath from the rays, drawing up 3 times as much as you can, and you will see yourself being lifted up and ascending to the height so that you seem to be in mid-air. You will hear nothing either of man or of any other living thing, nor in that hour will you see anything of mortal affairs on earth, but rather you will see all immortal things. For in that day and hour you will see the divine order of the skies, the presiding gods rising into heaven and other setting. Now the course of the visible gods will appear through the disk of God, my Father, and in similar fashion the so-called pipe, the origin of the ministering wind. For you will see it hanging from the sun's disk like a pipe. You will see the outflow of this object toward the regions westward, boundless as an east wind, if it be assigned to the regions of the east, and the other, viz. The west wind, similarly toward its own regions. And you will see the gods staring intently at you and rushing at you. So at once put your right finger on your mouth and say, silence, 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 symbol of the living, incorruptible God. Guard me, silence, nectar, tan meloi. Then make a long hissing sound. Next, make a popping sound and say, profege, morios profir, profege, nemethire, arpsenteng, pitemi meoi enarth, virpreco, psriradario, tire vilba. Then you will see the gods looking graciously upon you and no longer rushing at you, but rather going about in their own order of affairs. So when you see that the world above is clear and circling, and that none of the gods or angels is threatening you, expect to hear a great crash of thunder so as to shock you. Then say again, silence, silence, the prayer, I am a star wandering about with you and shining forth out of the deep, XOXO zerteith. Immediately after you have said these things, the sun's disk will be expanded. And after you have said the second prayer, where there is silence, silence, and the accompanying words, make a hissing sound twice and a popping sound twice, and immediately you will see many 5-pronged stars coming forth from the disk and filling all the air. Then say again, silence, silence. And when the disk is open, you will see the fireless circle and the fiery doors shut tight. At once close your eyes and recite the following prayer, the third prayer. Give ear to me, hearken to me, say your name, whose mother is, say your mother's name. O Lord, you who have bound together with your breath the fiery bars of the fourfold root. O fire walker, pentiteroini, light maker, others and closer, semesilam, fire breather, siren fey, fire feeler, iao, light breather, oai, fire delighter, eloire, beautiful light, azai, ion, akba, light master, pepper prepempipi, fire body, pnoyeniok, light giver, fire sower, are ekita, fire driver, galabalba, light forcer, ayo, fire whirler, pairikibuseya, light mover, sankerob, thunder shaker, ie, oe, io, glory light, bigenete, light increaser, soy sinefien, fire light maintainer, soy sinefi arembarazei marmarente, star tamer, open for me, proporfegi emetheire, noriomoti refilba. Because, on account of the pressing and bitter and inexorable necessity, I invoke the immortal names, living and honored, which never pass into mortal nature and are not declared in articulate speech by human tongue, or mortal speech, or mortal sound. Io, oio, io, oe, eo, eo, oe, eo, ioe, oe, oe, ie, eo, o, oe, io, oe, oe, io, oe, io, io, oe, ioe, oeo, eoe, oeo, oye, oye, eo, oi, eoe, oye, eoeye, eo, ea, aya, ea, eo, eo, oe, oe, eo, eio, oe, eo, oe, oe, o, ioe. Say all these things with fire and spirit until completing the first utterance. Then, similarly, begin the second until you complete the 7 immortal gods of the world. When you have said these things, you will hear thundering and shaking in the surrounding realm. and you will likewise feel yourself being agitated. Then say, again, silence the prayer. Then open your eyes, and you will see the doors open and the world of the gods which is within the doors, so that from the pleasure and joy of the sight your spirit runs ahead and ascends. So stand still and at once draw breath from the divine into yourself while you look intently. Then when your soul is restored, say, Come, Lord, Arkandara Fotaza Pirifota Sabithix Etimenmero Porathen Eri Prothi Porathi. When you have said this, the rays will turn toward you. Look at the center of them. For when you have done this, you will see a youthful god, beautiful in appearance with fiery hair, and in a white tunic and a scarlet cloak, and wearing a fiery crown. At once greet him with the fire greeting. Hail, O Lord, great power, great might, King, greatest of gods, Helios, the Lord of heaven and earth, God of gods, mighty is your breath, mighty is your strength, O Lord. If it be your will, announce me to the supreme God, the one who has begotten and made you, that a man. I, say your name, whose mother is, say your mother's name, who was born from the mortal womb of, say that name, and from the fluid of semen, and who, since he has been born again from you today, has become immortal out of so many myriads in this hour, according to the wish of God, the exceedingly good, resolves to worship you, and prays with all his human power, that you may take along with you the horoscope of the day and hour today, which has the name Thrapsiari Morirok, that he may appear and give revelation during the good hours. Eoro, rore, ori, orior, ror, roi, or, reorori, eor, 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 eore. After you have said these things, he will come to the celestial pole, and you will see him walking as if on a road. Look intently and make a long bellowing sound like a horn, releasing all your breath and straining your sides. And kiss the amulets and say, first toward the right, Protect me, prosimeri. After saying this, you will see the doors thrown open, and 7 virgins coming from the deep within, dressed in linen garments, and with the faces of asps. They are called the Fates of heaven, and wield golden wands. When you see them, greet them in this manner. Hail, O 7 Fates of heaven, O noble and good virgins, O sacred ones and companions of Minimirofor, O most holy guardians of the 4 pillars. Hail to you the first, Krepsentais. Hail to you the second, Meneskis. Hail to you the third, Mekran. Hail to you the fourth, Aramakis. Hail to you the fifth, Ekomi. Hail to you the 6th, Tignondias. Hail to you the 7th, Eroi Rombris. There also come forth another 7 gods, who have the faces of black bulls in linen loincloths, and in possession of 7 golden diadems. They are the so-called pole lords of heaven, whom you must greet in the same manner, each of them with his own name. Hail, O guardians of the pivot, O sacred and brave youths, who turn at one command the revolving axis of the vault of heaven, who send out thunder and lightning and jolts of earthquakes and thunderbolts against the nations of impious people. But to me, who am pious and God-fearing, you send health and soundness of body, and acuteness of hearing and seeing, and calmness in the present good hours of this day, O my lords and powerfully ruling gods. Hail to you the first, Aironti. Hail to you the second, Merkemeiros. Hail to you the third, Akrikioir. Hail to you the fourth, Mesargilto. Hail to you the fifth, Chikroalitho. Hail to you the sixth, Ermicthaithops. Hail to you the seventh, Eurasiche. Now when they take their place here and there in order, look in the air, and you will see lightning bolts going down, and lights flashing, and the earth shaking, and a God descending, a God immensely great, having a bright appearance, youthful, golden-haired, with a white tunic and a golden crown and trousers, and holding in his right hand a golden shoulder of a young bull. This is the bear which moves and turns heaven around, moving upward and downward in accordance with the hour. Then you will see lightning bolts leaping from his eyes and stars from his body, and at once produce a long bellowing sound, straining your belly that you may excite the 5 senses. Bellow long until the conclusion, and again kiss the amulets and say, Mocrimo perimofereri, life of me. Say your name. Stay. Dwell in my soul. Do not abandon me, for one entreats you, entho venen thropioth. And gaze upon the God while bellowing long, and greet him in this manner. Hail, O Lord, O Master of the water. Hail, O Founder of the earth. Hail, O Ruler of the wind. O bright lightener, propropege emethiri artem tepi, zeth mimeo, Yenero firkeko, pseri dario frelba. Give revelation, O Lord, concerning the matter of, and this is where you state what you want revelation of. O Lord, while being born again, I am passing away. While growing and having grown, I am dying. While being born from a life-generating birth, I am passing on, released to death, as you have founded, as you have decreed, and have established the mystery. I am Veroira Miori. After you have said these things, he will immediately respond with a revelation. Now you will grow weak in soul and will not be in yourself when he answers you. He speaks the oracle to you in verse, and after speaking, he will depart. But you remain silent, since you will be able to comprehend all these matters by yourself. For at a later time you will remember infallibly the things spoken by the great God, even if the oracle contained myriads of verses. If you also wish to use a fellow initiate, so that he alone may hear with you the things spoken, let him remain pure together with you for days, and abstain from meat and the bath. And even if you are alone, and you undertake the things communicated by the god, you speak as though prophesying in ecstasy. And if you also wish to show him, then judge whether he is completely worthy as a man. Treat him just as if in his place you were being judged in the matter of immortalization, and whisper to him the first prayer, of which the beginning is: First origin of my origin, Aioyo. And say the successive things as an initiate over his head in a soft voice, so that he may not hear, as you are anointing his face with the mystery. This immortalization takes place 3 times a year, and if anyone, O child, after the teaching wishes to disobey, then for him it will no longer be in effect. Instruction for the ritual. Take a sun scarab which has 12 rays and make it fall into a deep turquoise cup at the time when the moon is invisible. Put in together with it the seed of the lodometra and honey, and after grinding it, prepare a cake. And at once you will see it, this scarab, moving forward and eating, and when it has consumed it, it immediately dies. Pick it up and throw it into a glass vessel of excellent rose oil, as much as you wish, and spreading sacred sand in a pure manner, set the vessel on it, and say the formula over the vessel for 7 days, while the sun is in mid-heaven. I have consecrated you that your essence may be useful to me, to, state your name, alone. Ae, aya, oi, eya. That you may prove useful to me alone. For I am foraphos photisas. Others for opotheisas. On the 7th day pick up the scarab and bury it with myrrh and wine from Mendes and fine linen, and put it away in a flourishing bean field. Then after you have entertained and feasted together, put away in a pure manner the ointment for the immortalization. If you want to show this to someone else, take the juice of the herb called kentritis and smear it along with rose oil over the eyes of the one you wish. And he will see so clearly that he will amaze you. I have not found a greater spell than this in the world. Ask the god for what you want, and he will give it to you. Now, presentation before the great god is like this. Obtaining the above-mentioned herb, kentritis, at the conjunction, viz. Of the sun and the moon, occurring in the lion, take the juice and, after mixing it with honey and myrrh, write on a leaf of the Persea tree the 8-letter formula, as is mentioned below. And keeping yourself pure for 3 days before, set out early in the morning toward the east. Lick off the leaf while you show it to the sun, and then he, viz. The sun god, will listen to you attentively. Begin to consecrate this at the divine new moon in the lion. Now this is the formula. I, E, O, I. Lick this up so that you may be protected, and rolling up the leaf, throw it into the rose oil. Many times have I used the spell and have wondered greatly. But the god said to me, use the ointment no longer, but after casting it into the river, consult while wearing the great mystery of the scarab revitalized through the 25 living birds, and consult once a month at full moon instead of 3 times a year. The Kentritis plant grows from the month of Paini in the regions of the black earth and is similar to the erect verbena. This is how to recognize it. An ibis wing is dipped at its black tip and smeared with the juice, and the feathers fall off when touched. After the Lord pointed this out, it was found in Menelaitis in Falagri, at the river banks near the Bisas plant. It is of a single stem and reddish down to the root, and the leaves are rather crinkled and have fruit like the tip of wild asparagus. It is similar to the so-called talapes, like the wild beet. Now the amulets require this procedure. Copy the right one onto the skin of a black sheep with myrrh ink, and after tying it with sinews of the same animal, put it on, and copy the left one onto the skin of a white sheep and use the same procedure. The left one is very full of prostimeri and has this text. So speaking, he drove through the trench the single-hoofed horses, and man gasping among grievous slaughters, and they washed off their profuse sweat in the sea. You will dare to lift up your mighty spear against Zeus. Zeus went up the mountain with a golden bullock and a silver dagger. Upon all he bestowed a share. Only to Amata did he not give, but he said, let go of what you have, and then you will receive. Senother nopsither thernopsi, and so on as you like. So Ares suffered when Otos and mighty Epialtes him. Spell for retaining anger. You will dare to lift up your mighty spear against Zeus. For friends, let cease, lest we become a source of joy for our enemies. End of the Mithra Liturgy. Well, I think it's time for us to head back, unless you want to stay in this era. I'm not sure I do, so let's head back to the time machine, to the present time. I hope that you have enjoyed this. I did see some correlations of what were the other religions before the Mithra at the time. I believe that was like during the Hellenistic period. From what I gather from the scholars and experts, various books and authors that have written about history and religion, it seems that that period, possibly around the Hellenistic period, a lot of influence from the Greek mythology. I see the Hebrew influence, the Torah, the pagan Christianity was coming up and forming itself into the Christianity that we know today. So there's a lot of things where that offshoot of the Mithra was coming up. And in the Mithra religion, it was kind of rising in the vacuum of the Greek also losing its power in the sense of the Greek mythology. And so some of these references were when they made the relationship of the horoscope, kind of, the conjunction of the moon in the lion, in Leo, right? They mentioned some of the gods that we've heard from Greek mythology, Helios and Zeus. It seemed that they were also practicing the necromancy that the pagan or the pre-pagan Christians were practicing, the death and rebirth through the use of drugs and hallucinogens, to see that cosmic vision and also experience the aeonic life. All these words were mentioned in this Mithra liturgy. So if there's anything else that you might have caught, please let me know. I found it interesting and I wanted to share it with you. Thank you so much for time traveling with me, and hopefully we'll catch each other again somewhere here on my channel at the next video, wherever that may be. Be blessed.